Hello everyone, I hope you are doing fine. Proceeding towards the next topic of our surface chemistry, we have already discussed the process of adsorption, its mechanism, and the examples. Now we'll be studying about the relation that is given for the variation in amount of gases adsorbed by the adsorbent with pressure at a constant temperature. This is shown in the form of curve which is known as adsorption isotherm. Isotherm means the process of adsorption is taking place at a constant temperature. So, this relation was given by Freundlich in the year 1909, who gave an empirical relationship between the quantity of gas adsorbed by unit mass of solid adsorbent at a given pressure at a particular temperature. As you can see right here is the graph is showing x by m, that is mass of gas adsorbed per unit mass of solid adsorbent on the y-axis with pressure at the x-axis. And as we change the pressure, we will obtain a graph which is shown over here in the form of curves, and this is known as adsorption isotherm. And here we have different temperatures like 195 Kelvin, 244 Kelvin, 273 Kelvin. This means all the points at this curve will having a same temperature. This empirical relationship given by Freundlich can be expressed in terms of x by m is equals to k into p to the power of n, where n will always be greater than 1. Now, x here is the mass of gas adsorbed, m is the mass of adsorbent at pressure P, k and n are constants which depend on the nature of adsorbent and the gas at a particular temperature. The adjacent graph shows the plot of mass of gas adsorbed per gram to the adsorbent plotted against any temperature, and each curve will show an isotherm, that is points having same temperature. Point to be noted here is at any given pressure there will be a decrease in the physical adsorption as we go on increasing the temperature. So if we consider physical adsorption at 195 Kelvin and at 244 Kelvin, we'll see the curves are slowly decreasing. This means that the process of physical adsorption will also decrease with increase in temperature. Alright. Next we have is the validity of Freundlich isotherm. To validate this expression, a mathematical derivation for the equation was given. We know the Freundlich isotherm is given by the expression x by m is equals to k p to the power 1 by n, where n is always greater than 1. Now, if we take log on both the sides, we will obtain the equation log x by m is equals to log p log k plus 1 by n log p. This equation can be related to the equation of straight line, that is y is equals to mx plus c. So, if we plot the graph of log x by m on y-axis and log p on the x-axis, we'll obtain a graph which is a straight line having slope 1 by n, and the intercept on y-axis will be log k. Alright. Now, if we put the value of 1 by n, that is slope is equals to 0, that means the log x by m will be having a constant value, which will define that adsorption will be independent of the pressure. And if we take the value of 1 by n is equals to 1, that means x by m will be equals to k p. Now, in that case, it means that the amount of gas adsorbed by the adsorbent will be directly proportional to the pressure, and the adsorption will vary if we increase or decrease the pressure. And the adjacent graph is showing the relation between the log x by m and p. The slope of the graph will be equals to 1 by n, and intercept on y-axis is log k. So based on this graph and the change in values of slope, we can easily relate that the adsorption will be changing with the pressure, change in pressure. Moving on to the next topic is the adsorption from solution phase. So depending on the nature of adsorption, adsorbate and absorbent, another type of adsorption is adsorption from solid phase, where solids can adsorb solutes from the solution. For example, acetic acid in water is shaken with charcoal, and it is observed that some amount of acid gets adsorbed by the charcoal and the concentration of acid in the solution decreases. Alright, and the next example is the precipitation of magnesium dihydroxide, it is MgOH2, attains a blue color if when precipitated in presence of magnesium reagent, and this color of the precipitate is due to the adsorption of magnesium. Alright, now this adsorption of solutes by the solids in solutions are governed by different factors, first of which is the extent of adsorption will decrease with an increase in temperature. That means if we increase the temperature, the extent of adsorption will decrease. The second point is the extent of adsorption increases with an increase in surface area of the adsorbent. This point has already been discussed in the previous properties or characteristics of adsorption. That is, if we increase the surface area of the adsorbent, the extent of adsorption will also increase. In case of adsorption from solution phase, the extent of adsorption will depend on the concentration of solute in the solution. And depending on the amount of the solute in the solution, the adsorption will take place accordingly, and it will also depend on the nature of the adsorbent and the adsorbate. That if the process of bonding is taking place, then chemisorption will take place. If the attraction between the adsorbent and adsorbate is van der Waals force, then physical adsorption will take place. So the adsorption in the solution phase will depend on the concentration of solute and on the nature of adsorbent and adsorbate. This phenomena of adsorption in the solution phase can also be validated by slightly changing the Freundlich expression for the adsorption, that is x by m is equals to k c to the power of 1 by n. In case of gases, we had written that x by m is equals to k into p to the power 1 by n, where p was the pressure. But in case of solution, C will be the equilibrium concentration where the adsorption is complete. And if we take the log on both the sides, then we'll also obtain a straight line, just like we had observed in the case of adsorption of gases. This validates the isotherm obtained by the adsorption of from solution phase. Alright. Next we have the Different applications of adsorption. First is production of high vacuum. We have already discussed that to absorb the moisture and the water vapors from the atmosphere, silica gels are used for the absorbing the moisture. But if we have to create any atmosphere with high vacuum, then the remaining traces of air can be absorbed by the charcoal to create a vessel with high vacuum. Okay. Next application is in gas mask. So miners and deep construction processes use gas mask which contains the activated charcoal or the mixture of adsorbent which absorb the gases present underneath the earth crust and is beneficial and is helpful in breathing and absorbing the poisonous gases. Next is controlling the humidity, and this example has been discussed, that is silica and aluminium gels for the removing the moisture and controlling the humidity in the surroundings. Next is removal of coloring matter from solutions. We have discussed the example of methylene blue getting adsorbed on the animal charcoal and the solution becoming colorless. So this is an example for the application of removal of coloring matter from solutions. Heterogeneous catalysis is the adsorption of reactants on the solid surface of the catalyst, which in turn increase the rate of reaction. So when the phases of the catalyst and the reactants are in different phases, the term used is heterogeneous catalysis, and this will be discussed in the later part. For the time being, it is important to understand that the heterogeneous catalysis is also an application of the process of adsorption. Next is separation of inert gases. Due to the difference in the degree of adsorption of different gases, the process of adsorption is used to separate out gases from a mixture of noble gases or inert gases. Next example, in many drug activity is due to the adsorption of drugs in the human body, which helps in killing of the germs. The other example is in the concentration of ores, mostly sulfide ores, that involves the process of froth flotation process of concentration of ores, in which the pine oil or the frothing agent will be adsorbing all the impurities from the ores. Next is adsorption indicators. Some substances having surfaces of certain precipitates like silver halides have the property to adsorb dyes like eosine and fluorescein and give a characteristic color at the end point in the process of titration. And the last application is in chromatographic analysis, where the process of adsorption of the takes place in the chromatographic column and has wide applications in the analytical and industrial fields. Now, we are coming to the next topic of catalysis. Catalysis is the phenomena where the process of increase in rate of reaction will be taking place in presence of any chemical substances which take part in the reaction and accelerate the rate of reaction, increases the rate of reaction, but does not undergo any permanent chemical change in its properties. So the definition of catalyst and catalysis is given as the substances which accelerate the rate of reaction and themselves remain chemically and quantitatively unchanged after the reaction are known as catalysts and the phenomena is known as catalysis. This phenomena was first observed by Berzelius in the year 1835, and he suggested the name catalyst to the foreign substances added to the reaction, which enhances the rate of reaction. For example, first one is thermal decomposition of KClO3. In the absence of catalyst, high temperatures of 653 to 873 Kelvin is required for the evolution of the oxygen gas. But if this reaction is carried out in presence of catalyst, that is MnO2, lower temperature, that is 473 to 633 Kelvin, is needed for the evolution of the oxygen gas. Next example is the manufacture of ammonia in the Haber's process, where iron is used as the catalyst to enhance the rate of reaction. The next example is in the contact process of manufacture of sulfuric acid, vanadium pentoxide is used as the catalyst to catalyze the step of sulfur dioxide formation from the sulfur dioxide in presence of oxygen. This will be discussed later on. And the last example is used of finely divided nickel as a catalyst in hydrogenation. So in organic chemistry, for the process of hydrogenation of unsaturated organic compounds, various catalysts like finely divided nickel, platinum or palladium catalysts are used to catalyze the reactions. There are also chemical substances which enhance the activity of catalyst, and these chemical substances are known as promoters. For example, in the Haber's process of manufacture of ammonia, molybdenum is added as the promoter which enhances the activity of iron catalyst. But there are also chemical substances which decrease the activity of catalyst, and they are known as catalytic poisons. For example, in the above process of manufacture of ammonia, if instead of molybdenum carbon monoxide is passed through the mixture, then the rate of reaction will decrease, and therefore carbon monoxide acts as the poison for the iron catalyst. Now, coming over to the different types of catalysis. First one is heterogeneous catalysis. In the process of heterogeneous catalysis, the catalytic process occurs when the reactants and the catalyst are in different phases. For example, here first example is oxidation of sulfur dioxide in presence of platinum catalyst. In this case, it can be observed that the gas reactant and the product are in the gaseous state, whereas the catalyst is in solid state, and this is a example of heterogeneous catalysis. Next example is Haber's process for the ammonia synthesis, where the reactant are in gaseous state and the catalyst is in solid state. The following examples will also conclude that the gas reactants are in the gaseous state, whereas the catalyst is in solid state, and therefore define that in the case of heterogeneous catalysis, the reactants and the catalyst are in different phases. Reactants can be either in liquid or gaseous state, whereas catalyst is in solid state. The other type of catalysis is homogeneous catalysis. In the case of homogeneous catalysis, the reactant and the catalyst will remain in the same phase, that is liquid or gas, depending on the reaction. First example is sulfur dioxide getting oxidized to sulfur trioxide in presence of NO, which is also in the gaseous state. Other example is hydrolysis of ester, where the catalyst here is acid, that is HCl, and it is also in the liquid state. And the Third example is the hydrolysis of sucrose, which would give glucose and fructose in the solution, and this reaction is catalyzed in presence of sulfuric acid. So it can be concluded that in case of homogeneous catalysis, the reactant and the catalyst will be in the same phase, whereas in case of heterogeneous catalysis, the reactant and the catalyst will be in two different phases. I hope you all are getting the difference in the types of catalysis. Now, proceeding towards the mechanism of heterogeneous catalysis. Two different theories were given for the process of explaining the heterogeneous catalysis. The old adsorption theory was that the reaction in the gaseous or in the solution state, liquid state, are adsorbed on the surface of solid catalyst. The increase in the concentration of reactants on the surface will increase in the rate of reaction, and since the process of adsorption is an exothermic process, the heat of adsorption will be utilized in enhancing the rate of the reaction. So in simple word, it means that if we increase the concentration of reactants, then the rate of reaction will increase, and this is due to the adsorption of the reactants on the catalyst, which would lead to evolution of heat, and this heat will lead to the enhance in the rate of reaction. But this was not accepted, and a modern adsorption theory was given, which features the combination of intermediate compound formation and the old adsorption theory. And this also defines that the catalytic activity is localized only on the surface of the catalyst. So there are different steps in the modern adsorption theory, but it would be better if we take a look at this picture. So the first step is catalytic surface having free valencies, and the reactant molecules are A and B. The first step involves the adsorption of reactant molecules on the catalytic surface, where the weak bonds will be forming between the reactant molecules on the surface of catalyst. The next step will be the adsorption of reactant molecules on the surface of catalyst and forming an intermediate structure where all the reactant molecules are bonded to the catalyst. And the last step is desorption of the product molecules, means after the product has formed in the intermediate state, the reactant molecules will get converted into product and the catalyst will be eliminated as it is. So the advantage of this theory explains the why and how the catalyst remains unchanged in mass and the chemical composition at the end of reaction, and how it is effective in enhancing the rate of reaction. So this was all about the mechanism of the heterogeneous catalysis. Hope you all were able to understand. In case of any doubt, post it in the comment box. Thank you.